主耶穌基督聖名講話。
Now, for my part, this is the last sessions.
喺呢次靈恩會裏邊呢個次係我最後嘅一堂。
I thank God for that.
我非常之感謝神。
Because I almost finished my share.
因為差唔多就快完成我嘅分享啦。
We are going to continue with our study on defending the truth.
我哋繼續嚟到係查考呢個捍衛真理。
According to the prophecy of the scriptures.
根據聖經裏邊嘅預言。
It seems that this power of Satan eventually will gain access into the church.
睇起上嚟最後撒旦嘅權柄會進入呢個教會。
But God will eventually overcome this power of darkness.
但係最後神會勝過呢個黑暗嘅權勢。
It seems that the church will go through a period of struggle and confusion.
咁你發現教會會經過一段係混亂，而且咧係一段艱辛嘅日子。
I guess all of us here do have this great care and concern for the church.
我相信喺呢度每一個人都對教會係非常之關心。
Our strength is very limited.
我哋知道我哋嘅能力係非常之有限。
But we must do our best.
但我哋需要係盡我哋所能。
We believe in this.
我哋咁樣相信。
Although our strength is limited.
雖然我哋嘅能力係非常之有限。
As long as we do our best, that God will guide.
但係我哋能夠係盡力嘅話，神一定會帶領。
We'll see the mighty power of God being demonstrated in the church.
我哋一定能見到神嘅大能彰顯喺呢個教會裏邊。
We mentioned about the law of Moses, which talks about how to deal with people who try to entice us away from God to worship another gods.
早上我哋提到喺摩西嘅律法裏邊點樣係教導我哋嚟到係應對呢啲係假先知引誘我哋離棄真道嘅人。
Human nature is such that we hope that we can resolve certain issues very easily.
人嘅想法通常都話希望能夠將啲事情咧化大為小，化小為零。
We always have this mindset that as long as we don't touch it, maybe it will go away.
我哋可能會咁樣想，只要我唔理佢，佢會自動消失啦。
Because we believe that God is in the church and He will take control over the church, which is true that He is the Lord of the church.
因為我哋相信神與教會同在，神自然會處理。
But the Bible also, teaches us that we need to do our best.
但係聖經亦都教導我哋要盡我哋嘅本分。
We follow the example of the apostles.
我哋係依照保羅俾我哋使徒俾我哋嘅榜樣。
To see how they deal with this, these issues of falsehood.
睇下佢哋點樣嚟到去應對呢啲假道理、異端嘅問題。
If we ignore all these influences.
如果我哋係就睇唔到嘅話
，we may think that this is, is negligible.
或者我哋覺得呢個係唔需要理會嘅。
You will allow actually Satan to work in the church.
咁樣嘅疏忽就會導致教會咧撒旦咧喺教會咧嚟到係工作。
Jesus talks about these abominations.
咁耶穌提到呢個行毀壞可憎嘅。
I want you to turn to Daniel chapter 8.
我哋睇但以理書嘅第8章。
Daniel chapter 8.
但以理書嘅第8章。
We read verse 9.
第8章嘅第9節。
Chapter 8 verse 9.
第8章嘅第9節。
And out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great towards the south, towards the east, and towards the glorious land.
四角之中有一角長出一個小角，向南、向東、向榮美之地，漸漸成為強大。
Here we are told that there was a little horn.
咁呢度講俾我哋知道有一個小嘅角
，which grew up exceedingly great.
成為咧係非常之強大。
This little horn is from the vision of the ram and the goats.
我哋知道呢個小角呢個異象咧係從呢個山羊同埋綿羊呢個係比喻出嚟嘅，呢個異象出嚟嘅。
When we talk about this little horn.
當我哋講到呢個係小國嘅時候，
You know, little give us the idea that is something negligible, something will not cause too much, problems to us.
小就覺得係無關重要嘅，唔會係有太大嘅破壞力。
But in this little horn, actually hidden the power, the full power of Satan.
但係你發現呢個小國裏邊咧，係隱藏咗撒旦佢嘅權柄。
And this little horn grew exceedingly great towards the south, towards the east, and towards the glorious land.
咁你發現呢個小國咧，向南、向東、向榮美之地漸漸成為強大。
We know that the glorious land here refers to the promised land.
我哋知道呢個榮美之地就係指着呢個係應許之地嚟
In
講。
our context today, we can say is the church of God.
喺我哋今日嘅認識就係指着神嘅教會。
Now, verse 10,
第10節，
chapter 8, verse 10.
第8章嘅第10節。
And it grew up to the host of heavens, and it cast down some of the host, and some of the stars to the ground, and trampled them.
他漸漸強大，高及天象，將些天象和星宿拋落在地，用腳踐踏。
Like what we said yesterday, the stars of heavens are not the luminary bodies.
就好似我哋琴日所講過嘅呢個天上嘅星並唔係指着呢個真係天上閃閃發光嘅星啦，
The stars here refers to the workers of God.
呢個星係指着神嘅工人。
So when this little horns gain access into the glorious land,
咁你發現當呢個小國進入呢個榮美之地
it
之後，
causes a lot of damage to the glorious land.
佢會喺呢個榮美之地裏邊造成好大嘅破壞。
Some of the stars, were even thrown down to the ground.
甚至呢啲嘅天上嘅星咧，都被拋落在地，
And they are trembled.
甚至咧係被腳係踐踏。
Now, if you look at verse 11,
如果我哋睇11節嘅話，
here it talks about it continues to do further damage.
咁呢度係繼續講到咧，佢繼續嚟係行呢個係破壞。
Verse 11.
11節，
He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice were taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
並且他自高自大，以為高及天象之君，除掉常獻給君的燔祭，毀壞君的聖所。
Verse 12.
12節，
Because of transgressions, an army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifices, and he cast truth down to the ground. He did all this and prospered.
因罪過的緣故，有軍旅和常獻的燔祭交付他，他將真理拋在地上，任意而行，無不順利。
In verse 13 it says, This is the transgressions of desolation, which is the abominations of desolation.
咁喺13節就講到啦，呢個係施行毀壞嘅罪過，係可憎嘅。
Now, we find that when this little horn gained access to the glorious land,
當呢個小國係進入呢個榮美之地嘅時候，
first he causes some of the stars to stumble.
首先佢讓呢個星嚟到咧係被拋喺地上。
Now, the second thing that he does is to remove the daily sacrifice.
咁第二嘅佢將呢啲獻祭嘅事情咧嚟到係除去。
According to the law of Moses,
根據摩西嘅律法，
the burnt offering must be done on a daily basis,
燔祭係每日都需要獻上嘅，
morning and evening.
早晨以及係晚上。
There are many teachings that we can learn from this sacrifice.
當然，從呢啲獻祭當中，我哋可以得到好多寶貴嘅教訓。
We said, when an animal is to be offered,
當一個我哋獻上一個係動物嘅時候，
first the head must be chopped off,
首先個頭要斬落嚟，
and the animal must be skinned,
咁第二要咧係剝陣皮，
and then the body must be chopped into pieces.
第三嗰個身體要斬成係一塊一塊，
The entrail must be removed,
啲內臟要除去，
and must be cleansed as well.
而且需要係潔淨。
The traditional teachings of the church is that,
咁教會傳統嘅教訓就係，
when we serve the Lord,
當我哋係侍奉神嘅時候，
we must remember that we are not the head.
我哋要明白我哋唔係做頭嘅。
Jesus Christ is the head.
耶穌基督係為首。
That's why the animal has to be, the head has to be chopped off.
所以個頭需要係斬落嚟。
And the entrails must be cleansed.
個內臟需要係除虛。
What does it mean?
係咩意思呢？
It means that our motive in serving God must be right.
就話我哋侍奉神嘅動機應該要純正。
We must have a clear motive
我
in
哋先有
serving
一個
God.
係聖潔一個動機嚟到係侍奉神。
And then the body must be chopped into what? Pieces.
而身體要切成係小塊。
What does it mean?
係咩意思呢？
It means that we do not leave behind our own identity.
就話我哋都唔好為自己嚟到立名啦。
And then the skin must be removed.
我哋要將陣皮係剝咗落嚟。
We need to change our behavior in serving God.
我哋要喺侍奉當中要改變我哋行事為人。
We find that we can learn a lot of the teachings from this sacrifice.
咁你發現喺呢啲獻祭嘅事情上，我哋可以學習好多寶貴嘅教訓。
It is all about spiritual cultivation.
咁呢個所有都係指向一個靈修嘅功夫。
Like allow Christ to be the head, cleanse ourselves so that we can offer a sacrifice of holiness before God.
讓基督為首，我哋潔淨自己嚟到咧嚟到獻上俾神。
When this little horn enters into the sanctuary,
當你發現當一個小角進入呢個係聖所嘅時候，
he removed a daily sacrifice.
佢除掉獻祭。
You find it today when you look at the deception in the church.
咁如果我哋睇下今日教會迷惑嘅事情，
one of the things that we realize is that those who are affected, they do not talk about cultivation anymore.
我哋所見到嘅就話嗰啲已經被影響嘅人啦，佢哋咧係唔會談到係靈修嘅事情。
They go all out to attack the church and the workers of God.
佢哋係盡心㗎，緊緊嚟到係攻擊教會嘅工人。
It's like these daily sacrifices have been removed.
就好似呢啲獻祭已經被除掉一樣啦。
It stirred up this kind of feeling of aggressions in the church.
就係喺教會裏邊嚟到培養一種係非常之係惡毒嘅一種係敵意嘅感覺。
Like to give the idea that the church has not done what is right, what is just, and what is righteous in God's eyes.
讓人係覺得教會係唔公義、唔公平。
Recently I heard some comments.
咁最近我有聽到一啲咁樣嘅批評。
The organization of the church is not good.
教會嘅組織係唔好嘅。
The people within are not spiritual.
組織裏邊嘅人佢哋唔屬靈。
What they said maybe contains some elements of truth.
佢哋所講嘅可能有一啲啲係啱嘅。
If this kind of words are to be spoken to the leaders of the church.
但如果呢啲話係傳到去嗰啲係教會嘅負責人身上
through a proper channel.
接著一個所謂正確嘅渠道。
We find that these are the words which we must listen.
咁呢啲話咧，咁我哋就需要嚟到去聽啦。
We must admit our wrongs.
我哋需要咧嚟到係承認自己嘅錯。
Because we are not perfect.
因為我哋都唔係完全。
We need to change.
我哋都需要嚟係改變自己，讓自己成為咁好。
But we find that this word has spread to even newly baptized.
但係你發現呢啲話咧，竟然係傳向嗰啲係新受洗嘅弟兄姊妹。
Just like the general members.
或者係普羅大眾嘅信徒。
So you find that the intention here is not to help the church.
所以你發現佢嘅動機並唔係話要嚟到係幫助教會，
is to destroy.
係嚟到咧係毀滅教會。
Yes, we can voice our concern.
當然，我哋有咩係關心嘅，需要咧可以係講出嚟。
But we can voice our concern through proper channels.
當我哋有嘢要講嘅時候，我哋需要係藉着一個正確嘅渠道。
And I believe that many of our workers here are more than willing to listen.
我亦都相信我哋嘅工人亦都非常之樂意嚟到去聆聽。
Yes, if we truly have concern for the church.
如果我哋真係關懷教會嘅話，
the first thing that we need to do is to pray for the church.
第一樣嘢我哋要做嘅就係先為教會嚟禱告。
Then make your concern known to the church.
跟住咧，將我哋所關心嘅事向教會咧嚟到係訴説。
So you find that in this way, we are actually building up the church.
如果咁樣做嘅話，我哋就能夠咧係慢慢建立起呢個教會啦。
Now we turn back to chapter 8.
我哋翻嚟係第8章。
Daniel chapter 8.
但以理書嘅第8章，
We read verse 12.
我哋睇12節，
Chapter 8, verse 12.
12節，
Because of transgressions, an army was given over to the horn to oppose the daily sacrifices, and he cast truth down to the ground. He did all this and prospered.
因罪過的緣故，有軍旅和常獻祭的燔祭交付他，他將真理拋在地上，任意而行，無不順利。
Verse 12 talks about a kind of transgression, but it does not mention clearly what transgression is that.
咁呢度講到佢哋有一啲嘅罪過，但係冇好清楚講到咧呢個罪係乜嘢。
Because of transgression, he said.
因為佢哋因為罪嘅緣故嘛。
An army was given over to the horn.
有軍隊咧係俾咗呢個小國。
Now we begin to think, what kind of transgression is Daniel talking about?
咁我哋係想下，究竟但以理所提到嘅罪係指著乜嘢嚟
How is
講
it
咧
that because of this transgression, the horn can become even more powerful?
點解因為呢個罪嘅緣故呢個小國就更加係強大
An
啦？
army was given over to this horn
因為有
to
軍
oppose the
隊
daily sacrifices.
甚至咧係交俾佢，讓佢能夠咧係敵擋呢個係所謂嘅燔獻祭。
We can look at one example in the book of Revelations.
我哋喺從呢個係啟示裏邊睇個例子。
We turn to Revelations chapter 2.
啟示錄嘅第2章。
We turn to Revelations chapter 2.
啟示錄嘅第2章。
Verse 18 onwards talks about the fourth church, the corrupt church.
18節開始啦，就係講個第4間嘅教會，即係一個腐敗嘅教會。
Why is the church called corrupt church?
點解呢間教會被稱為一個腐敗嘅教會呢？
And we read verse 20.
如果我哋睇20節嘅話，
Chapter 2, verse 20.
第2章嘅20節。
Nevertheless, I have a few things against you, because you allow the woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servant to commit sexual immorality and eat things sacrificed to idols.
然而有一件事我要責備你，就是你容讓那自稱是先知的婦人耶洗別教導我的僕人，引誘他們行奸人，吃祭偶像之物。
Here it records an incident.
呢度記載一件事情。
That the church allowed this woman called Jezebel to seduce God's servant.
就話教會容讓呢個自稱係先知嘅婦人耶洗別嚟到咧係引誘神嘅僕人。
The Chinese translation is more accurate.
咁當然中文嘅聖經就比較正確，係話教導我嘅僕人啦。
To tolerate.
嚟到係容讓。
It's like, the church knows that her teaching is wrong.
就話呢個教會係知道佢所講嘅係錯嘅。
Or the church knows that this woman has a problem with the truth.
或者佢哋教會知道呢個女人其實對真道係有懷疑。
And the church continues to allow this woman to teach.
但係咧教會卻容讓呢個女人繼續嚟做教導嘅工作。
Surely you find that her words has influenced a number of workers to sin with her.
你發現佢嘅教導，佢嘅話咧，就影響咗教會嘅僕人啦。
This is how the woman has gained a power.
呢個就係呢個婦人點樣得着係呢個能力，直漸係強大嘅原因。
Because of her word, because the church did not put a stop to her work.
因為佢所講嘅，而教會亦都冇停止佢咁樣嚟到去講。
That's why the woman continued to become stronger and stronger.
咁你就發現呢個女人就越嚟係越強大啦。
So in the eyes of Daniel, this is a sin.
所以喺但以理嘅眼中呢個係一個罪過。
Because we tolerate falsehood.
因為我哋容讓呢個係異端嘅事情。
Allow these small horns to grow in power.
讓呢啲小國係逐漸係強大。
Now we turn back to chapter 8.
我翻嚟但以理書嘅第8章。
Daniel chapter 8.
但以理書嘅第8章。
She opposes the horns opposes the daily sacrifices.
咁你發現呢個小國咧，就嚟去敵對呢個所謂嘅燔祭。
And then he also cast truth down to the ground.
亦都將呢個真理咧係拋在地上。
Meaning that he showed no regards to the truth.
或者換句話講，佢就已經係對呢個真理咧係毫無興趣，係懷疑啦。
the horn even tries to replace the truth with maybe his own ways of practice.
佢哋已經唔看重呢個真理，甚至用自己嘅道理咧嚟代替呢個係真理。
And the Bible says he did all this and prosper.
聖經講到話佢係因義而行，但係咧佢係無不順利啦。
Now, my point is this.
我嘅點就係、
so it's like it begins with something very small or something negligible.
開始嘅時候好似有一件好小嘅事情係可以係忽略嘅事情。
But you can see the harmful effect it generated.
最後我哋最後見到，因為呢個毀壞嘅果效係幾大。
It causes even the truth of God to be sidelined.
甚至將神嘅道理呢個真理咧係拋埋一邊啦。
Remove cultivations.
除去呢個係靈修嘅功夫。
Desecrates the sanctuary of God.
甚至咧係毀壞神嘅聖所。
So it's like it's to me it's a complete destruction.
所以睇上嚟係一個完全嘅一個毀壞。
If you look at this in the context of an individual believers.
如果我哋從一個個人嘅角度嚟去睇呢件事嘅話
Today, if I mingle with someone who is affected.
如果我哋同呢啲係被影響嘅人係嚟到係交往嘅話
because I'm very self-confident.
因為我非常之有自信。
I believe that I will not be influenced.
我相信我唔會被影響嘅。
But we never know.
但係我哋真係唔知道。
Because we are talking about fighting against the power of darkness.
因為我哋係同呢個天空屬魔靈氣嘅惡魔係爭戰。
If I do not listen to the advice of the church,
如果我哋唔聽教會嘅勸導嘅
I
話
continue to mingle with this person.
我哋係繼續與呢個人嚟到係交往。
What is my end result?
咁最後嘅結果會點樣呢？
Total destruction on me.
完全嘅係被破壞。
Just like what is mentioned here in Daniel.
就好似但以理書裏邊所講到一樣。
We turn to Daniel again, to chapter 11.
我哋翻嚟但以理書嘅第11章。
Daniel chapter 11.
但以理書嘅11章。
From verse 29 onwards, it talks about the desecration caused by the northern king. 29.
咁從29節就開始講到啦，北方個王咧係褻瀆呢個聖地嘅事情。
We read verse 31.
我哋睇31節。
And forces shall be mustered by him, and they shall defile the sanctuary fortress. Then they shall take away the daily sacrifices, and place they the abomination of desolation.
他必興兵，這兵必褻瀆聖地，就是保障，除掉常獻的燔祭，設立那行毀壞可憎的。
When we read chapter 11,
如果我哋睇第11章嘅話
the chapter actually is written with some historical background in mind.
咁你發現呢一章呢，亦都有講述一啲所謂嘅歷史背景喺度㗎。
But I don't think the chapter is all about history only.
但係我覺得呢一章並唔係真係講到歷史裏邊所發生一啲嘅事情而已。
Chapter 11 talks about two kings.
11章裏邊有提到兩個王。
Southern king and the northern king.
呢個係北朝嘅王，依家係南朝嘅王。
You can see their fighting has been ongoing for a very long time.
咁你發現佢哋係爭戰咧，已經有一段非常之長嘅時間。
Now when you come to verse 29,
如果我哋睇到去29節嘅時候
now not only they fought amongst themselves.
唔單止佢哋係彼此呢度係爭戰啦。
You find that this northern king on this occasion returned in rage against the holy covenant.
咁你發現呢個北朝嘅王咧就返回嚟到南方咧嚟到咧恨怒聖約啦。
And you find that now the attack is on the holy covenant.
咁你發現而家嘅攻擊咧已經係跟呢個聖約係有關係啦。
It's like the fighting is not just about the two kings and is against God now.
咁你發現佢哋嘅唔係真係彼此攻擊而已，而家佢哋攻擊嘅係同神係有關係嘅。
For us to understand this chapter,
如果我哋要了解呢一章嘅話
maybe there is a way that we can look at it.
或者我哋可以從呢個角度嚟到去睇。
Now Daniel is about the rebuilding of the temple.
我哋知道但以理書有提及建造呢個聖殿嘅事情。
How to revive the building of God? I mean the church of God.
點樣嚟到係建立呢個係重建呢個神嘅教會。
To understand all the works of all these kings.
如果我哋要明白呢啲王所做嘅事情。
Perhaps we need to look at the four faces of the cherubims.
或者我哋需要留意呢個基路伯嘅4個面。
When we talk about the north,
如果我哋講北面，
you know that the north is the ox,
我哋知道就係呢個牛犢啦。
and the south is the lions.
南邊就係呢個獅子。
Now, whenever we talk about the ox,
當我哋講呢個牛犢嘅時候，
it gives us the idea of submissions,
讓我哋感覺到就係話代表係順服、
humility.
謙卑。
We always say, when we look at an ox is very kind, very gentle.
當我哋睇隻牛嘅時候，你發現隻牛咧係非常之温柔，係非常之耐順。
Here it says that the northern kings has caused a lot of blasphemies against the holy covenants of God.
但係呢度我哋見到呢個北朝嘅王咧，竟然咧係褻瀆呢個聖地，以及呢個係聖約。
Quite clearly, this servant of God here does not exhibit the quality of an ox.
咁樣好清楚俾我哋見到呢個神嘅工人已經係冇將所謂牛呢種嘅性情咧係表現出嚟啦。
He does not submit to the power of God anymore.
佢已經唔再係順服喺神嘅大能之下。
That's why he can cause so much harm to the glorious land.
以致佢能夠咧喺呢個榮美之地造成極大嘅破壞。
Now here we can learn a very important lesson.
呢度我哋可以學習到一個非常之好嘅教訓。
We are servants of God.
我哋都係神嘅僕人。
We have the duty again. We said to submit to God fully.
我哋有個本分就需要啦，完全係順服喺神嘅旨意之下。
So by submitting to God fully, not only we will not harm ourselves, will bring benefit to ourselves and to the church.
如果我哋能夠順服神嘅旨意，唔單止唔會傷害到我哋，亦都能夠係帶俾教會有造就。
In verse 31 it says,
31節咁樣講。
And forces shall be mustered by him.
呢度講到啦，佢會興起啲兵啦。
It's like he is able to gather for himself, yes.
佢能夠
a great army.
組織一隊軍隊。
Again we ask, how can that be?
我哋可以問點解會咁樣呢
？Just now we mentioned about the fourth church in the book of Revelation.
剛才我哋提到啟示裏邊嘅所講嘅腐敗嘅教會。
Because the church tolerated the woman.
因為教會容讓呢個婦人。
The church knows that this woman has a problem.
教會知道呢個女人係有問題㗎。
And yet the church, allows this woman to preach.
但係教會咧，佢係容讓呢個女人咧係繼續係講道。
So you find that this northern king here is able to muster forces.
因此你發現呢個北方嘅王咧，就能夠啦係興兵嚟係組成呢個係軍隊。
Surely, there must be people who are in support of him.
就話有人係支持佢啦。
That's why when he gained power,
當佢係有能力嘅時候，
he defiles the sanctuary fortress.
佢就褻瀆聖地。
And take away the daily sacrifices.
除掉常獻嘅燔祭。
Now I want you to pay attention to the last part of verse 31.
我哋睇下31節最後嘅一句話。
This is what Jesus says.
呢個就係耶穌所講嘅。
And place there the abomination of desolation.
設立那行毀壞可憎的。
In the Bible, yeah.
我哋知道喺聖經裏邊
The greatest abomination is to worship another god.
最大嘅毀壞可憎嘅事就係話咧拜呢個偶像。
Is to worship another god.
嚟到係侍奉另外一個神。
Now we have been saying this, repeatedly.
我哋係常常係咁樣講。
If we do not embrace the gospel,
如果我哋唔嚟去接納呢個福音，
we will end up worshiping not the real Jesus.
咁我哋發現我哋最後咧會嚟到係敬拜呢個唔係真嘅耶穌。
We'll worship Satan.
我哋會咧係嚟到敬拜呢個係撒旦。
It is likened to us placing this abomination of desolation in the sanctuary.
就好似我哋將呢個行毀壞可憎嘅擺喺呢個聖所一樣。
Individually speaking,
以個人嚟講
our heart is the sanctuary of God.
我哋嘅心就係神嘅聖所。
We should have the truth of God in our hearts.
我哋嘅心應該係長住呢個真理。
So when we embrace another gospel,
當我哋係接受另外一個福音
we are placing this abomination of desolation in the sanctuary of God. That's our heart.
我哋係將呢個行毀壞可憎嘅擺喺我哋嘅心裏邊。
So collectively speaking,
整體嚟講
the church belongs to God.
教會係屬於基督嘅，係屬於神嘅。
If we allow this to be preached,
如果我哋係容
falsehood
讓
to be preached.
呢啲異端嚟到係傳講嘅話，
If we allow the affected to continue to do what they want,
我哋容讓嗰啲係被影響嘅人繼續為所欲為，
is likened to us placing the abomination of desolation in the church.
咁就係好似將呢個毀壞可憎嘅擺喺教會一樣。
Because members could no longer worship the true God
因為
when
人
another gospel is preached.
已經唔能夠嚟到係敬畏神啦，因為已經有一個另外一個福音係被傳開啦。
We turn to Matthew.
我哋睇馬太福音，
Matthew chapter 24.
馬太福音嘅24章，
We read verse 15.
我哋睇15節。
Chapter 24, verse 15.
馬太福音嘅24章嘅15節，
From verse 15 onward, talks about the great tribulations.
從15節開始啦，就講到呢個大災難嘅事情。
Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand.
15節，你們看見先知但以理所說的，那行毀壞可憎的站在聖地，讀這經的人需要會意。
You know, when we read Daniel, it says the abomination was placed in the sanctuary.
當你係讀但以理書嘅時候，佢係講到話，佢哋設立行毀壞可憎嘅喺聖地。
According to Daniel, it is like an object being placed.
同但以理書嚟睇，就好似一樣嘅物件被擺喺某一個地方啦。
But here Jesus is talking about a person.
但呢度耶穌所講嘅係講到係一個人。
When you see that, you know, what Daniel has said,
如果你睇但以理所講嘅，
this is the abomination of desolation,
呢個係行毀壞可憎嘅，
standing in the holy place.
站喺聖地。
So, what Jesus is saying here is that, you know, anyone who introduces abomination,
就話耶穌喺呢度所講嘅就話，任何一個人講嘅呢啲係毀壞可憎嘅事嘅，
or lead someone to worship another god,
或者係帶勾引人去拜一個假神，
he is the abomination of desolation himself.
佢就係嗰個行毀壞可憎嘅人。
So we cannot allow this to happen in the church.
所以我哋唔能夠容忍呢啲事情喺教會嚟到
Do
係
not
發生。
think that this is only a small matter.
唔好話呢個係小事而已啦，
It's going to affect the whole church.
佢會影響整個教會。
Just like the power of this little horn.
就好似呢個係小角一樣。
Within this little horn is like, you know, it encapsulates the entire power of Satan.
因為呢個小角係完完全全充滿咗撒旦嘅能力。
If we ignore it,
如果我哋係忽略嘅，
it's likened to we are giving ground to Satan to work.
就好似俾撒旦有機會嚟到係工作一樣啦。
Or we show him a leeway to come into the church.
或者係讓佢有機會嚟到係進到教會。
Then we find that the church will in great confusion.
咁你發現教會就充滿着呢個係混亂啦。
Today we know that, the church is like to testify the truth.
今日我哋知道教會係呢個為真道嚟係作見證。
I want to read a verse.
我哋睇一節嘅經文。
We turn to 1 Timothy.
我哋睇提摩太前書。
1 Timothy chapter 3.
提摩太前書嘅第3章。
We read verse 15.
我哋睇15節。
The last part of verse 15 says,
15節最後一段咁樣講。
here it says, the church of the living God is the pillar and grounds of the truth.
神嘅教會就係真理嘅柱石和根基。
The church is the pillar of the church of the truth.
神嘅
The church is the pillar of the truth.
教會係真理嘅柱石。
It's like the church must support the truth.
就話教會需要係支持係真理，
And also the ground of the truth.
亦都係呢個真理嘅根基。
What does it mean?
咩意思啦
The？truth is built upon the church.
就話
The truth is on top of the church.
呢個真理咧係喺教會之上嘅。
You know, the church is established because of the truth.
就話教會會被建立係因為真理嘅緣故。
If you read Isaiah chapter 11,
如果係睇以賽亞書11章嘅話，
when God raised up the banner,
當神掀起呢個係聖旗嘅時候，
you know, according to Psalms, the banner is to display the truth.
根據詩篇所講嘅呢個旗啦，就要係彰顯呢個係真理。
So many people would come.
所以好多人就會被吸引而嚟啦。
And then God will raise the banner for the second time.
咁神會再次興起呢個大旗。
Many more people would come.
更多嘅人會被吸引而嚟。
It actually tells us about the two period of time in which the church will be established.
咁呢個係講俾我哋知道喺歷史裏邊，神喺兩套唔同嘅時期建立呢個教會。
So the foundation of the truth is the church, according to Paul.
所以呢個真理嘅根基就係呢個教會。
We are here to support the truth.
我哋係嚟支持呢個係真理。
Display the truth.
將呢個真理咧係彰顯出嚟。
Just like when Jesus came into this world.
就好似主耶穌嚟到世上一樣。
He said he bore testimony to the truth.
佢話係為真理做見證㗎。
Now you can imagine.
我哋可以咁樣我哋要睇。
If the church has lost the truth.
如果教會失去真理啦，
or the church could no longer see the truth of God clearly.
或者教會已經對真理係模糊不清啦。
Then you find that the existence of the church will not be purposeful anymore.
咁你發現教會嘅存在嘅目的已經係冇意義啦。
Because the existence of the church is to spread the good tidings of God,
因為
save
教會
the
嘅存
fallen
在
humanity.
嘅目的就係嚟到傳揚真理，拯救墮落嘅人類。
This is how we can expand, the borders
呢個
and
就
to
係
increase the nations.
能夠讓我哋係增添國民，強張世境。
So we hope that all of us can truly keep the truth.
我哋希望大家都能夠持守呢個係真理。
Display the truth.
嚟到係彰顯真理。
And bear testimony to the truth.
為真理做見證。
Hallelujah. Amen.
哈利路亞，阿門。
Let's pray together.